We live in a world so addicted to noise, people can't sit with silence. So addicted to likes, they don't know what they love. So, surrounded by crowds, they've never really met themselves. Happiness is an inside job. Joy is not external, it's cultivated from within. Your environment may change, but your mindset must be constant. All right, listen to me closely, because this is where it starts to click for a lot of people. Happiness is an inside job. We've been trained, conditioned, and almost hypnotized to believe that happiness comes from outside of us, from the relationship we're in, the money we make, the followers we gain, or the validation we get from others. But here's the truth, and I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. If your joy depends on people, places, or possessions, then you don't have joy. You have dependency. See, real happiness doesn't come to you. It comes from you. It's not about your circumstances. It's about your state of mind. Psychologists will tell you, after all the research, that external success or connection only accounts for a small fraction of long-term happiness. The rest, it's internal, your habits, your mindset, your beliefs. Now, that don't mean life don't get hard. I know what it feels like to be at rock bottom. I've been broke, broken, betrayed. But I also know that when I decided to stop waiting on somebody else to make me feel whole, when I decided to own my emotions instead of outsourcing them, my life started to shift. You gotta understand, when you place the key to your happiness in someone else's pocket, you give them the power to lock you in misery. But when you realize that you are the source, when you tap into your own worth, your own value, then being alone stops feeling like a prison and starts looking like a palace. Because once you master peace within, you'll never chase chaos outside again. You don't find happiness. You build it from the inside out. You are never truly alone. Have you learned to become your own best companion. Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship. Let's get something straight. You are never truly alone, because everywhere you go with you. And I don't mean that in some surface-level motivational poster way. I mean that on a deep psychological level. Your relationship with yourself is the most permanent, most powerful connection you will ever have in this life. See, we're taught to chase companionship, to crave validation, to fear solitude like it's some kind of punishment. But here's the truth most people never stop to realize. If you don't like being with you, why should anyone else? If you can't sit in a room with yourself without needing to scroll, sip, or stay distracted, then that's not loneliness, that's avoidance. You've got to start treating yourself like someone worth knowing, worth respecting, worth enjoying. I'm talking about developing real companionship with your own spirit. That means learning to hear your own thoughts without judgment. It means being honest with yourself, encouraging yourself, forgiving yourself when you fall short. That's self-relationship at the highest level. Now here's where it gets real deep philosophically and psychologically. When you truly connect with yourself, you start to realize that solitude isn't a void, it's a mirror. It shows you who you really are, unfiltered, no audience, no mask, no noise, just you. And if you can find peace in that space, you become unshakable. Because once you become your own best friend, you stop seeking temporary people to fill permanent gaps. So stop running from your own presence. Start showing up for yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. You're not alone. You're just finally in the room with the one person who has the power to change your life. Aloneness is a season of growth. Being alone is an opportunity to evolve without distractions. Use this season to sharpen your gifts. Now let me tell you something that'll shift your whole mindset if you let it. Being alone is not a setback, it's a setup. It's a season of growth. And if you don't understand that, you'll waste some of the most valuable time God ever gave you. See, when you're constantly surrounded by people, by noise, by opinions, it's hard to hear your own thoughts. It's hard to see where you end and everybody else begins. But when the room gets quiet, when the calls stop, the texts dry up, the invites disappear, that's not rejection. That's refinement. That's life saying, now let's work on you. Psychologically speaking, solitude enhances clarity. It's the space where your mind resets, where you can process pain, reflect on purpose, and identify what really matters. That's not weakness. That's maturity. Philosophically, it's in solitude that some of the greatest thinkers, Socrates, Mandela, Jesus, found their deepest strength. Because when the world pulls back, the soul steps forward. You know what happens when you give a seed time in the dark. It breaks open, grows roots, and reaches for the light. But the breaking has to happen alone. That dark soil, that isolation, that's where transformation begins. So if you're in a season where you feel like it's just you, don't fight it, use it, study, heal, pray. Build discipline, build a foundation so solid that when the next season of opportunity arrives, you don't just show up. You show up ready. Because time alone doesn't mean time wasted. It means time invested. And when you treat solitude like soil instead of punishment, you grow in ways no crowd could ever teach you. Your growth doesn't need an audience. It needs your attention. Discover purpose over people. Pleasing don't live for the applause. Live on assignment. Happiness flows when you know you're fulfilling your purpose. Let's talk about something that's stealing more joy than failure ever could, people. Pleasing. Trying to keep everybody happy. Trying to fit in. Trying to be liked, reposted, invited. It's exhausting. And worse, it's empty. Let me be real with you. When your happiness depends on other people's opinions, you're not living. You're performing. And here's the psychological truth. When your sense of self is externally validated, you become emotionally fragile. You're up when they cheer and you're down when they're silent. That ain't freedom. That's bondage dressed in approval. Now, philosophically, this is critical because purpose and popularity often travel in opposite directions. You were not created to please the world. You were created to fulfill a calling, and that calling won't always be understood, clapped for, or celebrated. Matter of fact, sometimes your purpose will offend people simply because it reminds them they haven't stepped into theirs. See, when you're finally alone, away from the noise, away from the expectations, that's when you get a chance to stop performing and start discovering. What do you really believe? What are you called to build, to give, to become? That kind of clarity doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. I'm telling you right now, stop living for likes and start living on assignment. Stop letting the fear of disappointing others keep you from honoring the voice of purpose inside you. You don't need a fan base to walk in truth. You just need the courage to obey what's already been placed in your spirit. When you stop chasing people and start chasing purpose, happiness stops running from you and starts rising within you. Silence is a teacher in solitude. You hear the voice of God, the call of purpose, and the whisper of wisdom. Now let me slow it down and really break this one down for you. Silence is not the enemy. Silence is a teacher. See, we live in a world where everything is loud. The news is loud. Social media is loud. Even your own thoughts get loud when you're anxious or unsure. And when that silence hits, when nobody's calling, when it's just you and your thoughts, people panic. They grab their phone, turn on the TV, call somebody, anything to escape that stillness. But let me tell you something powerful. Stillness is where the truth starts talking. Psychologically, silence gives your brain the space to process. Not just react, but reflect. When you're constantly stimulated, you're not growing, you're coping. But in silence, you meet your fears, your regrets, your dreams, your doubts, and you start sorting them out. You start hearing your own voice instead of everybody else's. Philosophically, some of the most profound revelations come not when you're speaking, but when you're listening. And I'm not talking about listening to people. I'm talking about listening to that still, small voice inside you. Some call it intuition, some call it God, but when the noise fades, that's when you hear it loud and clear. And here's the beautiful part when you stop running from silence. You start getting answers, clarity, peace, direction, but you gotta sit in it long enough to receive it. So don't fear those quiet seasons. That's when your soul's in session. That's when purpose gets clear. That's when wisdom shows up. The silence you're avoiding might be the voice you've been waiting for. Gratitude turns isolation into empowerment. Shift your focus from what's missing to what's multiplying. Alone doesn't mean lacking. It can mean expanding. Let me drop this last one on you. Gratitude will change your life faster than success ever will. Now I know that might sound simple, even soft, but let's talk about it. When you're alone, it's easy to start looking at everything that's missing. You start seeing the empty chair at the table, the silent phone, the unopened inbox. And if you're not careful, you'll convince yourself that because something or someone isn't there, you're losing. But here's the shift. What you focus on expands. That's not just motivational fluff. That's neuroscience. Your brain literally rewires itself based on what you pay attention to. You focus on lack, you feel empty. You focus on what's working, what's growing, what's still possible. You feel power. So instead of waking up saying, I'm all alone, what if you started saying, I've got peace this morning, I've got breath, I've got strength, I've got me. What if you thanked God not just for the people who stayed, but for the ones who left, because now you've got room to grow, room to breathe, room to hear your own voice. Philosophically, gratitude transforms perception. It reframes solitude from something you suffer through to something you steward. You stop feeling like life abandoned you, and you start realizing life entrusted you with time, space, clarity. So here's the challenge. Every day you're alone, find something to be thankful for. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Make it real, because gratitude doesn't just change how you feel. It changes how you see. You don't need more to be happy. You need to notice what you already have.